Cheat Code Support Strategist by My Head in the Clouds Not Coming Down. Read by Rat Overlord. Chapter 75. Awkward. Summary. The day after the mall attack. Hitoshi grumbled as he dragged himself into the living room and face-planted onto the couch. After he'd come home from the mall yesterday, it had taken less than 5 minutes to shower, put on the comfiest pajamas he owned, and collapse into his bed from emotional and physical exhaustion. He'd gotten up only once, and that was because Aizawa had shaken him awake and forcibly shoved a plate of fried rice in his face. Beyond that, he'd been dead to the world, and honestly, he kinda wished that he still was. Mike looked up from his laptop and grimaced when he saw Hitoshi come in.
I'm guessing that you're not actually feeling any better. I'll get back to you on that after I finish dying of mortification.
Hitoshi lifted up his head and looked at Mike piteously.
I called Aizawa Dad.
Mike's face lit up.
Yeah, you did.
Hitoshi's pout deepened.
And I told Ochako that I like her.
Mike's eyes widened, and he hurriedly shoved his laptop onto the coffee table so that he could give Hitoshi his full attention.
And what did she say? Nothing.
Hitoshi whined.
The fire alarm went off pretty much immediately after that, and we had to jump straight into a villain attack. Oof.
Mike winced.
That's... wow.
Hitoshi flopped over so that he was on his side.
Yeah, and to make it even worse, we were playing around with my quirk, and I pretty much forced her to tell me that she has a crush on me.
Mike froze.
What? It was an accident.
Hitoshi groaned.
I know what you're thinking. I feel like a villain for doing it too, but like I said, we were just playing around with my quirk, and I asked what I thought was a totally innocent question about Mina, but apparently Mina knows about her crush, and it just came tumbling out. I didn't even think I'd be able to get her to answer. Oh, Hitoshi.
Mike came and sat on the couch beside him, carding his fingers through Hitoshi's hair and letting him put his head in his lap.
Quirk accidents suck.
Hitoshi nodded and rubbed his eyes.
Sorry, I was hoping that I'd feel better after sleeping, but yesterday was a lot.
Mike pointed out.
It's okay to feel a little overwhelmed.
Hitoshi sighed.
Where's Aizawa? He had another meeting with Netsu.
Mike said.
Their one yesterday got interrupted. Oh, right.
Hitoshi said numbly.
What's gonna happen to Todoroki? We're not sure yet.
Mike said.
On one hand, he's dangerous to have around, but on the other, knowing who the traitor is can give us a huge advantage if we can use that knowledge against the League. Honestly, we're hoping to get Cheat Code's opinion on this, but, well, your dad's gonna be home soon, so why don't we invite your friends over? We can just bring them up to date on Todoroki's situation, and you can test the waters with Uraraka and see how she's feeling about the whole thing. How's that sound, kid?
Hitoshi's face scrunched up.
Do I have to?
Mike shrugged.
No.
Hitoshi groaned.
Fine. But if this goes south, I'm volunteering to be a test subject for one of Mei's explosions.
Isugu bit his lip as he looked through the security footage again.
Mei-chan, you didn't see anyone fitting Trapper's description at the mall, did you?
What description, Izuku? Mei asked. Nobody's ever seen him.
Well, yeah, but his quirk...
Isugu tried.
Wasn't used during the attack.
Mei finished.
The police and the heroes are looking for him too, you know. You don't have to find him all by yourself.
I know.
Isugu frowned.
But if I just noticed Shigaraki earlier or pushed Netsu into letting the students fight...
Izuku, this isn't healthy.
Mei sighed.
You helped keep people safe. You don't have anything to make up for.
But...
No buts!
Mei slammed his computer closed.
Did you eat breakfast?
Isugu blinked.
Mei
rolled her eyes.
If you can't remember, then we're gonna have to assume that's a no. Come on, let's get a snack. I promise to try not to explode your kitchen.
Isugu swallowed and let Mei drag him by the arm into the kitchen. He supposed breakfast wasn't a terrible idea. Ochako was nervous. It had only been a day since their class's nice, normal trip to the mall had gone completely south, and that meant that the last 24 hours had been a whirlwind of police interviews, reassuring her parents, and teleporting away from the media. In the end, her anxiety basically came down to the fact that she hadn't talked to Hitoshi since the attack, which was understandable considering that he hadn't been doing that well when his adults had arrived to shuffle him off. But she still felt weird because maybe the fact that she'd accidentally confessed she liked him and he confessed back wasn't that important considering that an actual villain attack had happened less than a minute later, but it still felt kind of like something that they should address eventually. Maybe she was just making a big deal out of it and it didn't even matter at all. She groaned and flopped back into bed. Her bags for the training camp were half packed on the floor by her closet, but she didn't feel like doing that right now. Honestly, she didn't feel like doing a lot right now. How was she supposed to focus on anything with literally everything else that was going on? Her class had just gotten attacked by villains and her crush had ghosted her. Even if she had an incredibly valid reason to do so, it still felt ridiculously stressful. Why did this have to be her life? Her phone vibrated next to her head and Ochako groaned, rolling over to see Mei calling her. Hey, Mei-chan, what's up?
Hitoshi's adults invited us to lunch,
Mei said.
Are you coming?
Ochako shot up. What? Am I invited?
I think so,
Mei replied absently.
I'm pretty sure President Mike said he texted you too.
Ochako scrolled through her text and groaned. Yep, I was just too busy being Okay, yeah, I'll text them back and say I'm coming. It's in like 10 minutes. Great, wonderful.
Well, it's not like you have to worry about driving time.
Mei laughed. Ochako looked down at her comfy pajamas with holes in the knees. Yeah, that's not what I'm worried about. Isugu was trapped in kind of a surreal situation. On one hand, this was just Hitoshi's house, and he knew, logically, that Hitoshi's parents were just normal people. Sure, they were pro-heroes, but he talked to pro-heroes all the time at school, and it was no big deal. On the other hand, it was in President Mike and Eraserhead's living room, and they were offering him cookies. His inner fanboy was dying right now.
Ochako said she was coming, right?
Hitoshi asked under his breath.
I really hope I didn't scare her off.
How would you have scared her off?
Mei asked, grabbing a cookie.
She's used to me and Izukun, so I'm pretty sure she's got nerves of steel at this point.
Hitoshi blushed but didn't say anything as Mike and Aizawa sent him a sympathetic look. Isugu frowned and grabbed a cookie. He'd figure out what was going on when Ochako got here. Speaking of Ochako, she popped into existence less than a minute later by the side of the couch.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late.
Hitoshi's face lit up briefly before he cleared his throat and looked away.
Hey, I'm glad you can make it.
Perfect!
Mike grinned.
Everybody's here. Lunch is already ready, so let's eat.
There was still an odd tenseness as they followed him into the kitchen, but then again, they had just been through a huge villain attack yesterday, so that might just be normal. The dishes at the table were all mismatched, like most of them had been bought as gag gifts at a thrift store at some point, but Isugu supposed that Eraserhead and President Mike were kind of mismatched too, and they somehow made it work, so it was fitting that their house was the same way.
So are you feeling any better, Shindig?
Ochako asked as they sat down. I was kind of worried about you after, the whole thing at the mall.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hitoshi grimaced.
I didn't mean to fall off the face of the earth, but I came home and basically just crashed into bed. It had already been a really long day before we even got to the mall. That's actually part of why we invited you kids over.
Aizawa cut in.
You're all in on a few school secrets already, not to mention that you're Hitoshi's friends, so it's only logical for us to inform you, especially you, Midoriya, since you're so skilled in analysis.
Isugu and Mei exchanged a confused look, and Isugu caught Ochako looking at Hitoshi with rapt curiosity until he sighed.
There's a traitor in Class 1A, and I figured out who it is.
Tamura was pissed. He was supposed to be the leader of the league. How had an attack, a major attack, happened without his approval? Not only that, but without him even knowing about it. Kurogiri had given some bullshit answer about their fearsome reputation and made the whole thing sound like it was Tamura's fault in the first place. How was he supposed to know that he was going to get spotted? He didn't even know 1A was going to be there in the first place. If it was anybody's fault, it was that good-for-nothing spies for not informing them of Wenny's location. But no, as soon as word got to the League that he'd been spotted by the heroes, they were simply following his lead. It was ridiculous. If he was really the League's leader, he wouldn't be under All for One's thumb right now. He'd be free to do what he liked and actually make something of himself, rather than obsess over destroying society in Sensei's name. He wasn't the leader of the League, though. Not really. He was just some kid that All for One had picked up on the side of the road one day and decided would make a perfect puppet. And to make it worse, he didn't even have a main role anymore. He was constantly getting pushed to the sidelines by everyone and wasn't even the main character anymore. No, he was just some side character that everyone had apparently decided didn't have enough strength of character to win the game, but couldn't get rid of because their face was on the box. He hated the way the rest of the League was treating him, and he hated that they were right. A few days ago, he would have argued that at least he still had his stream and Icy Cat, but there was no way Todoroki would ever talk to him again. Why would he want to? When, from his perspective, Tamura had just betrayed him and then lied about it. Maybe if he hadn't assured Todoroki that there wouldn't be an attack, then they'd be able to get through it, considering that he and Todoroki had a sort of silent understanding that he was a villain, and attacking heroes was just what villains did. But that wasn't what happened. No, he just had to open his big mouth and let Todoroki think everything was going to be fine before stabbing him in the back. He hadn't been surprised when Todoroki had put out a message on their socials saying that he was going to be out of town for a bit and would miss the next few streams. Sure, he could have just been talking about the training camp, but at the same time, he hadn't said when he'd be back, or even if he was coming back at all. And the worst part was that Tamura couldn't even blame him. He wouldn't want to come back either. Isugu's frown got deeper and deeper as he listened to Hitoshi describe Todoroki's odd friendship with Shigaraki.
I'm sorry, but that makes absolutely zero sense.
I mean, it kinda does, Ochako said. Kurogiri knew how my quirk worked, so he obviously was given some sort of inside information from someone. Hitoshi shrugged.
I can show you some of the streams. It's definitely them, and I'm sure you saw them together in the security footage.
Well, yeah, but it just seemed like they were trying to de-escalate because he wasn't allowed to use his quirk.
May argued.
Why in the world would he start gaming with a villain anyways?
The simple answer is teenage rebellion.
Aizawa sighed.
He has a good reason to hate his father, and, quite honestly, if he's trying to piss off his dad, this would be a great way to do it.
No, I got that. It's just...
Isugu groaned.
It doesn't make any sense for him to be the traitor, or at least not the only one.
Mike blinked, and Aizawa heaved a heavy sigh.
Do I even want to know what you're getting at?
Well, May, you know how I couldn't find any evidence of Trapper during the attack?
Yeah? May's eyes widened.
You think?
Isugu nodded.
Every other known member of the League was there, but Trapper didn't even show his face. Why? Because he'd be recognized.
You think Trapper is one of our students?
Mike asked.
Well, I mean, if it's Todoroki, then everything comes back full circle.
But the quirks don't match,
Isugu said.
Todoroki has ice and fire, but the evidence Trapper's left behind points to something sort of like synthetic moss.
Which doesn't fit any of our classmates' quirks either. Uraraka huffed. So what now?
Well, just because it doesn't match our class doesn't mean it doesn't match someone they know,
Hitoshi said.
A parent, sibling, uncle, anyone that they trust enough to tell about their day, pretty much, could be a potential information leak.
Or they could be intentionally doing something to hide their quirk,
May said.
There are tons of inventions that can change things. Chemical reactions, all sorts of options if you're desperate to hide who you are.
So, we've got a lead, but it's thin.
Aizawa said.
So what if looking into their families doesn't work out?
Well, then we've got Plan B.
Isugu smiled.
If all else fails, we already know one of the traitors. If we play our cards right, he'll lead us straight to the Trapper without even knowing we're onto him.
Howdy, y'all. Hope you enjoyed. And if you did, feel free to leave a like or comment down below, because I always love hearing from you guys. And make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with whenever I post. And now, here's your daily reminder to go drink some water so that you don't end up like a dehydrated SpongeBob. Oh, and also to leave your questions down below for my upcoming Q&A.